Hi, beautiful divine souls. This is Lisa Falcon G with Universal Hidden Insight, and I have a special topic I wanted to cover in this video. I wanted to talk about deeper healing. So, I wanted to go into healing a little bit deeper than I did in my first video because it seemed like it was something that people really needed. And I know that as I've gone on my journey, it's like an endless topic, and as I keep looking at healing, I keep going deeper and deeper and trying to really truly reach all of myself. Um, so I want to start with the very basics. I want everybody to kind of think about the world and just look around. And some people are very optimistic and they might say the world's a beautiful, wonderful place, and that's true. It is. It has potential to be even better. Um, and then there's some of us who might look around and really see, through whatever filter we might have been put in front of us that there's a lot of suffering. There's a lot that's happening in the world. There's a lot politically that's, creating all kinds of war, and there's people that are starving. The planet itself is literally being destroyed at the hands of our species. And as I wrote my first book, I thought a lot about this. Why are we doing this to the earth? Why is the earth the way that it is? Why is the world the way that it is? And how could we do this? And what I came to the conclusion of is that we're disconnected within ourselves. We're not balanced and whole, and we don't have an understanding of how we're even connected within ourselves. So we don't understand how connected we are to the whole world and each other, and especially the earth. So that's one of the most important realizations that you can have, is to understand how intimately connected we are with the earth, and that there's not anything on this earth that we can't touch that we're not affecting a part of ourselves as our community. It is a part of our community. And, if you can start to go out into nature and appreciate that, deeply appreciate that this earth is our home. And, you wouldn't trash your house. So it's really important that we treat the earth like the connected part of us that it is. The same way, that we would want to be treated. That's how we need to treat the earth. And if you were to go to somebody else's house, you wouldn't trash it, you wouldn't disrespect it, you wouldn't throw your trash on the ground, you wouldn't, dig a hole in the floor, you wouldn't cut apart the furniture. And the same thing with a person, you wouldn't do any of that to a person or somebody you loved. And I think that that's important, that we understand that we are connected, and if we're hurting this, we're hurting this. So that's kind of a fundamental starting point. We're all connected. Everything's connected. If you can appreciate that, that's going to start to kind of open up your awareness. So as we're kind of getting into this, when I began my healing journey, it was many, many years ago, and I kind of made a lot of changes in my perception. And it was a lot of dropping old belief systems and changing my thought patterns. And I went from being a very, very negative, very fearful, very angry person, um, and I really began to be able to love. And that was my first real spiritual revolution, is that I began to actually be able to love. Um, for me, being able to love somebody else, that seemed so important. And as I learned how to do that, over the years, I began to be able to turn that inward and be able to love myself. So that's one of the most important fundamentals of healing as well, being able to love yourself, love and accept yourself the way that you would another person. Another important aspect, if you're looking at trying to do deep healing, is, and this is something that I kind of realized as I've got my cat over here, Diamond. She's a little healer as well. Um, if you are trying to heal any aspect of yourself, it's kind of all connected. So you'll notice that other parts of yourself may start to heal as well, or wherever you kind of start with it, because it's all connected as one system. So for me, as I had been going through trying to work on these internal thought patterns and really changing them and really identifying the root of them, I was also addressing a lot of emotional things. Um, and one of the side effects of doing all this work and trying to really uproot these patterns that I've created is I had a pretty intense, medical issue for the majority of my life, the majority of my adult life. And I had changed my diet. I had tried everything, really to resolve it. And I had had surgeries and all kinds of stuff, but I had given up on doctors long ago. I realized this is something that there's got to be a way that I can make a difference and do some kind of healing on myself, or at least make it manageable. Um, but I've noticed that as I've been doing this deep, mental and emotional work on myself, that has started to recede. That started to go away. So I think a couple of steps that are really important is that you have to understand that everything that happens in your life is for a reason. And this includes the horrible things, the bad things. And if you can look at these different situations in your life, whether they are something you perceive as good or something you perceive as bad, and try to identify what is the lesson in it, what's the opportunity for growth in it. And I know that that might sound really basic to a lot of people, but it's one thing to know that, it's another thing to actively do that, to actively be able to go through the process of doing that and realizing that. So understanding and appreciating that you can't take for granted the bad things. You can't take for granted your pain. Your pain is there to teach you something, to tell you something, and we have to appreciate that. There's a gift in that. Then we come to forgiveness, looking at some of the different wounds in our life and the people who have hurt us. You have to be able to come to a place of forgiveness. If you can't forgive, you can't free yourself. And really, the only person that you're hurting is yourself. If you can't let go and if you can't forgive. So this is something that I think everybody has to find their own way to do it. And it might be something that you have to do several times. You might have to look at a certain relationship and a certain person and kind of visualize them and forgive them more than once. And maybe you'll feel like it's resolved, and maybe you'll get upset again, get triggered in some way, or get angry, and that's okay. You don't want to hold on to it. Um, just go back into that forgiveness. And it's also incredibly important to be able to forgive yourself. And I'm literally speaking to every single person that has any kind of sickness that's physical or mental or emotional, any disruption in your life that you feel is imbalanced. This absolutely translates to every single different type of imbalance. A very important part, and this is something that I've learned in trying to kind of work on help healing people, that I guess I kind of realized they didn't want to be healed. Willingness, willingness to heal. And you can think that you're willing. You can think, yeah, of course I want to be better. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to have this pain. I don't want this pattern to continue. But a true willingness is different than that. It's not just do you consciously want to get better, but is there some aspect of it you're unconsciously holding on to, some aspect of it that gives you some kind of comfort, or that feels like it's validating for you. Maybe there's still something you need to learn out of it. The quicker that you can figure out what that pain in your body or what that process or pattern in your life is trying to teach you, the quicker that you will be able to get to the next step. And the next step is awareness, just being aware of that through a bigger lens. So I can give an example. If you can look at, a situation that maybe you had an abusive father, and I understand that this is one of the most tragic situations that somebody can go through. Um, when we're little, we don't have the ability to defend ourselves, and this is the person that we're looking to for protection. And if you're afraid of that person, um, it's a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy, and it really shapes the person that you become. And I want to let anybody know that has gone through that you are not alone, and you will be okay. And I want to do everything I can to help anybody who, whatever the situation is, get to the other side of this so that you can be empowered in your life, and so that you can be healed, and so that you don't have to feel that type of fear anymore. Um, One of the things that can kind of open up the awareness is to understand that you don't have to be afraid anymore. to kind of understand that, somebody that behaves that way, they're scared themselves. They're it's just like the classic bully in school. They're usually the most insecure person. So, and if somebody had truly stood up to them, they would maybe back down. So I know that that's not an option when you're a child or even as a young adult. But just as an example, just as one way to kind of understand the broader concept of having an awareness of how, this problem that seemed so big, maybe there's something that we can take out of it, and maybe there's a different way that we can see it, a different way that we can see it. The next part that you get into is acceptance, accepting the situation, accepting the pain that you're feeling, accepting the illness that you have, accepting it and being grateful for it, and being grateful for what it's teaching us, being grateful for the awakening that it's causing in us, because it does. It causes you to wake up, right? If you um, get to a point where you feel like, I can't take this anymore, that's when you start seeking, that's when you start reaching. So that's so powerful. And if it wasn't for that pain or that situation in your life, you might not have done that. So we have to be very thankful for that. And through that, you start to get into the next stage, which is empowerment. Being empowered to actually take action and recognize that we do have the ability to heal ourselves, that your body wants to heal itself, that your life wants to heal itself, that we naturally want to be in sync with the natural balance of the universe, which is harmony. It's harmonizing. It's not all this dissonance. It's not division. It's not separate from itself. It's everything connected. Mind, body, heart, spirit, everything connected as one system. And it's going to take a lot of attention. It's going to take a lot of effort. You have to work at this, and it's not something that happens overnight. Um, as I said, that's something that I'm going through continually, and it's going to be the same for everyone, but it's absolutely possible. And I wanted to share that with all of you. I have a lot more that I'm going to do in these videos. I end up getting so excited about all the things I want to talk about that sometimes it's hard to stay on topic, but this one I think I did okay. Take some time today to just look at your emotional root, whatever that might be, and think of it like whatever the situation, if it's an illness in your body, if it's some kind of pattern that's recreating in your life, look at that as a weed. Your life and your body is like a garden, and you want to cultivate what you want. You want to cultivate the flowers, and you want to get rid of the weeds, the things that you don't want to grow. And we can't take care of a weed just by cutting off the top of it, because we haven't addressed the root. So we want to get to that root and uproot it. That's all we want to do, uproot it. So you have the power in yourself. You're so deeply loved. You're supported in ways you could never, ever maybe understand. There's so much support and love available, and you're absolutely not alone. If you'd like to check out more on my work and more on how everything happens for a reason and love, you can check out universalhiddeninsight.weebly.com and check out my book on the website. Until next time, thank you so much.